Wubba lubba dub dub motherfuckers. What is going on, everyone? It is I, everyone's favorite jack of all trades with a foul mouth, Comet Urban, and welcome back to another awesome fucking video. And yes, it is gonna be another awesome book review. But you think the books I'm reviewing, I've already reviewed these 3 books. I used them as background for the next awesome book review regarding the dreaded German battleship herself, the DKM Bismarck. And also, if you see in front, there is the Project Bismarck that I've been working on. You know, the 1/350 scale Revell kit with the upgraded detailing set by Pontos. And before I begin, I just want to give a big shout out to Nigel over at Nigel's Modeling Bench. And he's got a lot of awesome fucking videos. He's got amazing fucking series on the Lancaster, which is amazing. And he's also did a 2-part review on the new IJN Yamato, the 1/200 scale model. And he's done some videos on Bismarck models as well, and they're fucking awesome. So if you ever see this, Nigel, you know, fucking awesome job. I love your content. Keep up the great work. So anyway, the book that we're going to be reviewing is actually different than these books. Of course, these 2 were written by the legendary Dr. Ballard, and this was written by William H. Garst Jr., Robert O'Doulan Jr., and William Jurin. And they're all experts in their fields, but the thing is, there is personal connections missing. And that's where this book fills in the gap. And I'm talking about Battleship Bismarck, a survivor's story, by Baron Burkard von Müllenheim-Rechberg, translated by Jack Sweetman. Now, the gentleman who wrote this book was the highest ranking surviving officer from the Bismarck, and he was a gunnery officer, and his station was the aft gunnery control station right there, which controlled the turrets Caesar and Dora. And pretty impressive book. Even on the drawing board, the Bismarck was a grimly spectacular battleship, a massive floating gun platform, heavily armored and secretly exceeding the tonnage limitations set by international treaty. In her first engagement, after firing for only 6 minutes, she sank the Hood, once the largest warship in the world and the pride of the Royal Navy, deploying 4 battleships, 2 battle cruisers, 2 aircraft carriers, 3 heavy cruisers, 10 light cruisers, and 21 destroyers over an area more than 1 million square nautical miles. The Royal Navy sought to avenge the loss. The drama of her short life and violent end made Bismarck a household name during the Second World War, and the subject of considerable literature thereafter. Nevertheless, not until now has her inside story been told. Baron von Müllenheim-Rechberg, today the only surviving officer of the Bismarck and the senior survivor at the time of her sinking, has filled the gap. The factual and riveting chronicle that he has painstakingly assembled will stand out from among the stories of naval war. Having been ordered to the Bismarck before she was commissioned, the Baron served in her throughout her career. When he reported aboard, he was assigned as personal adjutant to her captain, Ernest Lindman, and consequently is in a position to furnish a unique view not only of the personality of that brilliant officer, but also of all that went into making the ship combat ready. The arrival of her enthusiastic young crew, her sea trials, plans for her first mission, and the awkward visit aboard of Adolf Hitler, the angry little Austrian house painter, are all related with eyewitness reality. The pace of the narrative quickens and the reader is caught up in the tension of the Bismarck's first and last mission, Exercise Rhine. Here are the needless security breaches, the alarm bells when icebergs were mistaken for enemy vessels, the first encounter in the fog with the stalking British cruisers Suffolk and Norfolk, and the sudden sinking of the massive Hood, terror of so many German war games. But triumph soon turns to tragedy, As every British warship in the Atlantic is deployed against the Bismarck and wounded, she tries to make a dash for the coast of France. Lost opportunities, garbled messages, faulty intelligence, and a lucky British aerial sighting lengthen the shadow of doom for the giant battleship as a torpedo dropped by a British swordfish biplane jams her rudder and leaves her helpless to maneuver away from a course that leads toward her enemy. Frantic but unavailing attempts at repair finally have to be abandoned, and her crew has no choice but to wait for the end. Her proud men regarded the Bismarck as floating life insurance, yet more than 2,000 of them met death when her end came. Her captain, who lived by the motto of the Iron Chancellor, "I am consumed in the service of the fatherland," was not among the handful who were saved. This remarkable book, in which the author attempts to put himself in the position of the fleet commander, provides interesting strategic insights. It is also a human book that gives the world a more personal look than it has ever had before at the ship the British said put up the most gallant fight against all possible odds. So basically, in this book, Müllenheim-Rechberg basically tells the story of the Bismarck from a more personal view. And it's an absolutely amazing book. And I've actually heard about this book, of course, doing research for and of course there's a picture of the Baron when he was serving as commanding officer and 4th gunnery officer as Oberlieutenant C. But like I said, he tells a very personal story of his time aboard the ship when he was, the captain's aide during her cruises in the Baltic, which you can see here. There's the author wearing the braided adjutant for the adjutant to the commanding officer, which would be Lindemann right there. And basically how everything plays out in the book is very human. It puts a human perspective on the Bismarck, because a lot of people forget that there were humans on the Bismarck. The Bismarck wasn't an evil ship. People think of Bismarck as an evil ship. Bismarck was not an evil ship. And the people on board her were not evil as well. They were just trying to protect their country from an invading country, which in hindsight makes sense. But the thing is the emotional of it, especially the last chapters, like the last battle, the last battle here in Bismarck sinks, is where it really gets really sad and really, really emotional with the author, as he sees his comrades blown to bits, dead, blood dripping on the decks, the ship basically like this here, captured basically like that as she rolls over and sinks, and then her brave commander was at the bow and gave the salute as the ship rolled over and foundered. And there's also a lot of there's also several appendixes in this book too, which, the exercise orders for Rhine. There is the general orders for the Atlantic operations. British forces deployed against the Bismarck, which is quite a few. The rudder damages was it possible, all possibilities exhausted. It's pretty interesting. Action between the Rodney and the Bismarck, which basically Rodney was just using her for cannon fodder, basically, at that fucking point. And of course, a break in the German code and a bibliography. And right here's the author as he looked at the time when the book was published. See, basically after the war, he was in the diplomatic service of the Federal Republic of Germany, served in a variety of posts. He was general counsel in Toronto, ambassador to the West Indies, and it said that he made his home with his wife near Munich, Bavaria. you know. But, you know, of course, now the gentleman's dead, sadly. I would have loved to have met him and talked to him about this, because, I mean, basically, it's basically like he's sitting here reading this book. It's just like if he's sitting there telling you the story. And it's so heart-rendering, and it's just so, like I said, it's human. It's a story of the sailors and the men who operated the ship. The young men down below decks in the engine and boiler rooms, to the men operating the massive, big, heavy guns and the smaller turrets and all the anti-aircraft guns that are on board her. Like I said, the Bismarck was not an evil ship. And most people don't. They like I said, people think she's an evil ship, but she's not an evil ship. And the people on board her were not evil. They're just humans. And it's like, I remember being told once, and I've been told a few times, you will never look in the eyes of another human, of another person that God doesn't love. And that's true. You won't. And what happened between the Bismarck and the Hood, and, you know, the death of all the men on the Hood, and of course the death of the men on the Bismarck, that was just uncalled for carnage. Absolutely just horrific. And it should never have happened. And that's the thing with war. War is hell, and war doesn't give a fuck who gets in the way. It's going to kill, kill, and kill. So, what do I think about this book? It's a wonderful insight to the story of the Bismarck from a perspective of one of the crew members, not just a crew member, a surviving officer, the top surviving, like the highest ranking surviving officer. And the story, like I said, it's human. And it really puts in perspective, you know, the people on board the Bismarck. They weren't killers. They were just normal people like everyone else. And it took a long time for people to realize, you know, the British and the Germans, they're not so different. It's just because of the thoughts and shit of one crazy, deranged little lunatic. And that little bastard's name is Adolf Hitler. He's the fucker behind all this shit. So for him, fuck him. As for the men and the ship itself, may them rest in peace and be remembered forever for their courageous acts of trying to protect the homeland, the fatherland. And as for this book, it's a must. I would give this book 5 stars and 2 big fucking thumbs up. If you're studying the Bismarck and you are working on a model of the Bismarck, then this book you should get and you should read. It's definitely well worth it, and trust me, you will learn something, and you might appreciate more about human life and the toll that war does on humans. And, you know, like I said, war's fucking hell. It has no friends at all. So, there you have it, guys. That is my review of the book Battleship Bismarck, A Survivor Story by Baron Burkard von Müllenheim-Rechberg. And if you have any questions or comments about anything, leave them in the comment section below and I'll get back with you. And if you're new to the channel and like the shit I'm putting out, hit that fucking subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and you'll never miss another video of mine again and become a member of the crew. Until next time, this is Commodore Urban saying, anchors away, motherfuckers, and God bless all of you. Until next time, I catch you on the warm trade wind where the hell anyone knows, and I'll meet you there. So long.